today. So it's been 3 days. And that is because we had to rethink our original plan, which was to glue all of these platforms and their wooden toppers together at the same time. That did not work out for a number of reasons, one of which being that we're using Tacky Glue. And while the Tacky Glue works great, it's holding strong, it's doing its job. It is very liquidy. So we started gluing these down and then they started to dance. They were shifting. They weren't staying in the places that we needed them to for this whole puzzle to fit together. On top of that, the wood that we're using is a very thin wood that's very easy to work with, but its thinness combined with the liquid glue, it started to warp off of the platforms that we were trying to get it to stick to. So it's like 5 in the morning, we're panicking, things are moving, things are warping, we didn't know what to do, so we just took it all apart. We took the platforms off, we left the wood toppers on, and then threw bricks on top of those to try to just get the wood to stay down. And it did, it worked. And then the next day, once all that was dry, we came back and then we assembled the base as it was intended to be assembled the first time around. And then we threw bricks on top of that. And then we waited another day for that to dry. And it's all finished and it looks great and I'm really happy with it. We just have to finish assembling this by building up the back piece with our scraps of XPS foam and some hot glue. Hot glue this time, because it's quick. Then we are going to cover all of the XPS foam parts with foam coat. And then we're going to prime the whole thing, well, not the wood, the bark parts. And then it'll be ready for a final paint job and assembly. And I'm really excited and I just want to get into it. So let's go. So the base is all finished. The bottles are all finished. Oh, that's a lie. So the base is all done being primed and built, and the bottles are all done being primed and sanded. I haven't taken the wrapping off of the bottles yet because I do want to go in with just a base coat of color before I remove the wrapping and then continue painting in details. The base looks just like a tree stump, which is exactly what we wanted. It's crazy cool. I'm very impatient and I just want to paint this thing. But before we get there, there are 3 tiny things that we have left. One being we have to drill holes underneath and on top of the base to allow for the LEDs under each bottle and their respective motors. These 2. Is it these 2? Is it these 2? Is it these 2? These two are not getting motors because their openings are too small for the magnets to fit through. Everything else is gonna get a motor. Caleb has been programming and soldering and making all the electrical for this piece. So we just have to cut out the holes for those electrical pieces to fit into. Second thing that we need to do is to pick out the wings that we wanna use for the flight potion. Once we pick those out, I'm just gonna Dremel in some detail and sand it to make everything nice and smooth. And then the last thing is our crystals. So when we made our wings, we also did a bunch of UV resin crystals, and we made these from pre-made molds that we got online. Made too many because once I started making the crystals, I just wanted to make more and more and more. But I want to break them. And I want to do that because I want to get a bit more variation in the shapes and the sizes of these crystals. So we're going to put on some safety gear and smash up these crystals and Dremel the wings. And then we are going to get into painting everything. And I'm so excited. So let's just get to it.
Before we move on to the electronics, I wanted to quickly share how we're going to be using our motors. We saw this technique in a Wicked Makers video where they took some magnets and they glued them onto a quarter, and then they glued the quarter onto a motor. They then took some magnets and put them inside a potion bottle, and then when the motor spins, it spins the magnets and swirls the liquid inside. We're going to be doing just that with two minor tweaks. Instead of a quarter, we're going to be using some old bottle caps that we had lying around, and then instead of one stack of magnets, we're going to be using two stacks opposite each other. Now, for the electronics, we built two custom boards to be controlled by an Arduino to power our motors and LEDs. We built a driver board for our motors because they consume more amperage than the Arduino can provide, and we built an LED driver board to restrict the voltage to all the lights.
We broke the
I know it's not the prettiest. It does not look great, but it serves its purpose. It's going to house all the electronics and channels for all the wires and paths up to the top of the base for all the LEDs and all the motors to connect to the electrical at the bottom. The top looks great. I'm really happy. We were really worried that the wood was going to splinter when we started drilling these holes, but we just took it slow and it worked out great. That's finished. The crystals are finished. The wings are finished. The electric stuff is done. The base is primed. The bottles and the shields and everything are primed. Everything is ready to go for the final stages of this project, which are painting and final assembly. And these pieces have been in progress for so long that I'm just so excited to begin painting them. So let's just get into it. It's like a little face. It's like, oh. Oh.
Right.
Okay, so full disclosure, it's been a few days. We removed all the plastic wrap and the masking fluid, and they look great. The masking fluid and the tape did its job, and its only job was to protect the glass from the spray paint. However, taking off the masking fluid took a lot of time. About 8 hours to be exact, with both me and Caleb removing the masking fluid. And I know that masking fluid comes with a window of opportunity to remove it before things start going wrong. And with porous materials like paper, you want to remove it as soon as possible because it'll start seeping into the fibers of the paper and then start ripping it when you take it off. But with non-porous materials like glass, we figured we had more time, which we did because it's still removed. The base, the crystals, the wings, the electrical, those things took a lot of time. These bottles were waiting for so long that I guess the masking fluid dried out. And then on top of that, putting so many coats of spray paint further dried it out. It was like scraping off dried paint. It did not want to come off very easily. It was fine. It turned out fine. Everything looks great. The clay is still intact. I just wanted to say something in case anybody tries this at home, that the longer you leave it on, the less fun time you're going to have removing it. There is a window of opportunity. You don't want to miss it. I don't know the exact window of opportunity because, like I said, we did miss it. And so we're just going to get back to painting. These guys need a lot of work. So the painting is all done. The bottles and the base are all finished being painted. I also went ahead and cleaned up the bottles of all the paint that I got on the glass, and they just look so much better now. We also went ahead and filled in the holes with a mix of black paint and Mod Podge, just so that there's not like bright pink foam showing through. Yeah, all that's left to do is the final assembly, and I'm just so excited to wrap this up. We've been working so hard for so long on so many things, and it's just very exciting. So let's get into it.
I think it worked.
Okay, it is finally time. We are almost finished. And I know I keep saying that. I know I keep saying one last thing, one tiny last thing, just one more thing to do, but really, really this time, one last thing. And that is we actually have to make the potions that are gonna go in our potion bottles. We've been waiting for this step for so long. It's so exciting. And we're gonna be using a mix of a couple different things. We're gonna be adding mica powders and food coloring. We're gonna be using distilled water, glycerin, and a tiny bit of alcohol. Mainly water and glycerin. Glycerin to help slow the mica powders down so they don't just fall and sink to the bottom when the liquid isn't actively moving. And then a tiny bit of alcohol. And that is because I don't really want things growing in these bottles. Now, you can just do plain water, you can just do plain alcohol. You probably just do plain glycerin, but I don't know how well that'll turn out. And like I said, you could just use alcohol in these bottles if you want. I just don't want tiny Molotov cocktails sitting around my house, so I'm gonna use a mix of all three of these. And yeah, that's about it. I'm just so ready to get these potions in these bottles. We've been so ready for this for so long. We've been talking about this since the very beginning. That was one of our main inspirations for doing this project. So let's get to it. The potions are finally finished. I am so happy with how these turned out. They look amazing. The colors, the crystals, the petals, the base looks amazing. I mean, I can't believe we built a tree stump out of foam and wood, and it looks great. Caleb and I are just so excited to move on to more projects, and we have so many ideas that we want to make and in store for you guys, and videos that we want to bring to the channel. Thank you so much for watching this video to the end. I mean, we threw a lot at you in 20 minutes, so thank you. And leave a like, or you don't leave likes. Please like the video and subscribe, or leave a comment and tell us what you think. I mean, what's your favorite potion, or what are some ideas that you have that you want to see us build and make in future videos? And now that everything is wrapped up, let's have a closer look at the finished potions. Thank you again. Also, there are links in our description to other creators who know far more than we do on creating potions, some of which were direct inspirations for us to create this project. So go ahead and maybe check them out, and then maybe come back here. Okay, bye.